With a net worth of over $300 million and millions of weekly viewers checking into her show every week, can we really be surprised by the immense following Ellen DeGeneres has gained over the years? She really has made her own lane in the talk show world, but is Ellen really the Ellen that we think she is? Before we begin getting into the tea of this video, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and like this video if you want to see more videos like this. Let's begin by talking about Ellen's start to becoming a household name. Ellen Lee DeGeneres was born on January 26, 1958, and so that makes her 62 years old today. She grew up in Louisiana and started by doing stand-up comedy before her big break. During her hustle, she was living in small apartments and living the life that most struggling artists live. At 20, she was dating a girl who tragically passed in a car accident. Actually, it was this experience that inspired her to further pursue her comedy. In 2018, she joined fellow comedian and actor Dax Shepard on his Armchair Expert podcast and told him about her struggles as a young adult. She said, "My girlfriend was killed in a car accident when I was like 20 years old, and I wasn't doing comedy. I think I was probably waitressing someplace at the time. I was living with her when she was killed." She continued to share on the podcast how her humble beginnings helped shape her career. She said, "I couldn't afford to live where we were living together, and so I moved into this little basement apartment. I moved into this basement apartment and I was sleeping on a mattress on a floor, and it was infested with fleas." The unfortunate death of her then girlfriend resulted in material for her first ever stand-up performance. It was this performance that would basically go on to jumpstart her career. The segment was called Phone Call to God, and in it she would pretend to call God and vent about life's problems. The segment was a hit and it actually catapulted her into a career of entertainment. She explained how writing the material kind of came naturally. She said, "It just unfolded. I just wrote the entire thing, and when I finished, I read it and I thought, oh my god, that's hilarious. I'm going to do this on Johnny Carson, and I'm going to be the first woman in the history of the show to be asked to sit down." Her comedic success actually landed her an appearance on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson in November of 1986. She became the first female comedian to be invited to sit down on the show's couch after the stand-up routine, and this is just as she predicted. After gaining attention from her comedic skills, Ellen entered into the acting world. She got her own show on a sitcom called Ellen, which aired from 1994 until 1998. Although the show was successful, Ellen was struggling with her personal issues, especially with her sexuality. She was out in her private life, but not in her public life. And as a public figure, this had a lot of ramifications.
And all that crying and all that carrying on is ridiculous.
Ellen decided to tackle these issues that she was facing personally head-on by incorporating them into her show. So on April 30th, 1997, the character that she played, named Ellen Morgan, came out as gay on the show. This was seen as monumental in TV history. She became the first lead character of a TV series to announce that she was gay. But as a result, she faced a lot of backlash. Allegedly, it took the production team of the show almost a year to come up with the storyline.
Huh? What?
Because the production team took a year in advance to figure out how they would incorporate the storyline to the show, they kind of had a feeling that it could go sideways and that they could face backlash. And unfortunately, that became the reality because they did face a lot of backlash. As Ellen said in 2017 to Page 6, "I had no idea the amount of hate. I had no idea that there would be death threats or a bomb scare. It was a really scary time." Allegedly, the show, which aired on ABC, also had financial consequences, with mega brands like Chrysler, JCPenney, and Domino's Pizza pulling out advertisements. ABC also allegedly denied the Human Rights Campaign and a cruise line focused on lesbian clientele to take over those spots. Although Ellen did face backlash for her sitcom show, as we all know, it didn't last forever. In 2003, just 5 years after the last episode of the sitcom aired, Ellen got her first syndicated talk show through NBC called The Ellen DeGeneres Show, which we all are familiar with. We all know that Ellen succeeded in her talk show because it's currently on the 17th season. However, this does not mean that the road to success was smooth. The streets have been talking for a while, and there have been allegations that haven't always been pretty. For example, in 2018, fellow female comedian Kathy Griffin detailed to Variety magazine an issue she had with Ellen for her treatment of the iconic and late comedian Joan Rivers. Griffin admitted to the magazine that she got into a fight with Ellen DeGeneres after Joan Rivers died. The magazine quoted her as saying, "One of the things that really hurt Joan, and we talked about it at our last meal together, was that Ellen always shunned her, and Ellen thought she was vulgar and not funny." This is something that she also has said to Kathy. But when Rivers died, Griffin wanted to reach out. "I just called her and I just said, look, woman to woman, comic to comic, I think you need to let go of your hatred for Joan Rivers. She's passed away, just do an effing tribute. Be cool." But according to Kathy, Ellen wasn't having it, and she responded, "There's a difference between mean and funny." And Kathy said, "That effing set me off." In 2019, Kathy shared to media outlets that she was no longer friends with Ellen and stated that apparently I am not her cup of tea. Allegedly, Kathy has expressed to others that Ellen is not the person she portrays to be on TV. Ellen has made it pretty clear that she does not want Donald Trump on her show. She's alluded to things of political differences and things of that nature of why she wouldn't want him on the show. But Ellen doesn't take an issue with George Bush, the former Republican president who served in the White House. In 2019, Ellen and George Bush were caught on camera by paparazzi having a friendly time at a football game. And so obviously the public reacted, and Ellen went to defend her relationship with the Texan politician. She tweeted, "Yes, this was me at the Cowboys game with George W. Bush over the weekend. Here's the whole story." And she linked a video of her talking about the story on her show.
"In the outfit or whatnot. What the?"
So when she addressed the public on her show, she said, in quotes, "They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? A lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet." She continued, "Exactly, here's my thing. I'm friends with George Bush." She said, "In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have." Many viewers took notice of how hypocritical it seemed that Ellen would be so proud to defend former President George W. Bush, who she calls her friend, and sitting President Donald Trump. One viewer tweeted, "Hey, at the Ellen Show, I loved your comments this week regarding sitting with former President George W. Bush at football game. Can you help reconcile your statement regarding President Trump versus what you said about George W. Bush?" Another viewer tweeted, "Is this the same Ellen DeGeneres who graciously announced that President Trump would never be on her show? Is this the same W. Bush who for 8 years routinely had the S kicked out of him by showbiz types?" Another Twitter user tweeted, "Wait, you mean the same Ellen DeGeneres that refused to allow Trump on her show because she did not agree with him politically? Hypocrite much?" So when Ellen's relationship with George Bush started getting attention and traction, it was circulating on Twitter, and basically everyone was having an opinion, like the tweets that I just read to you. So one user, who's actually a gay activist, his name is Raphael on Twitter, and he's a verified user, he actually said that the Ellen team tried to silence him. He used satire or some form of creative expression to basically critique their relationship, and I guess he got the video taken down, and Twitter said that it violated copyright law, and allegedly the Ellen Show was successful at removing this, and he tried to use the rebuttal that it was fair use and that he was, trying to creatively express himself, and he even mentioned Twitter communications team and their policy team, but I don't think anything came out of it. And it just goes to show the lengths that the Ellen team did to silence this user for bringing up something so minuscule like critiquing a relationship with a political figure. So, although Ellen has stated that she's open minded and she has friends who think differently than her, she allegedly invited gospel singer Kim Burrell to sing on her show with Pharrell Williams, but she reversed that decision after finding out that Kim had made statements that were allegedly anti gay. I think they surrounded same sex marriage, and because Kim was part of the church and part of her religion, she didn't support it. But despite Bush endorsing a constitutional amendment that would ban same-sex marriage during his presidency in 2004, Ellen somehow forgave him, or I don't know what you would call it, but she's friends with him now, and she took no issue with that. And the power dynamics there are just so different. According to a 2019 report in Page 6, Kim was not the only one who was banned from the show. Caitlyn Jenner was also allegedly banned from the show after the 2017 release of her controversial memoir, The Secrets of My Life. In there, she wrote that Ellen alienated her from the LGBTQ community as a result of her reflections on gay marriage on the show in 2015. Some other celebrities that were allegedly banned at one time include Sherri Shepherd, who was a former host on the daytime talk show The View, and Vince Vaughn, who is a comedian and actor. Apparently, their anti-gay positions and comments did not sit well with Ellen, and although they've been invited back or they've had friendly repertoire since, there's also that underlying theme of if you make comments that Ellen doesn't like, allegedly she will take them personal depending on your status. Of course, George Bush's status is much different than these other celebrities. Earlier this year, popular YouTuber Nikki Tutorials, who became famous for doing online makeup tutorials, came out as transsexual on her channel. She had indicated that she was actually blackmailed, and so she wanted to take full control of the situation. That's why she came out. It was a very difficult time for her, and she had recently admitted that she's actually suffering from PTSD over the blackmailing. Because she is a popular YouTuber, she did get a lot of media attention, including from The Ellen Show. They wanted to fly her down from the Netherlands and tape a show about her experience coming out as trans. Because she always was a fan of Ellen, she decided to do this, and she wanted to have a platform to discuss her experiences, and The Ellen Show seemed like a great fit. But allegedly what she had thought The Ellen Show would be like was nothing like her experience. When she returned home, she was invited to a Dutch talk show. She explained to the host that her experience was nothing like she expected. She found the exchange to be cold. She said she was greeted by an obviously overworked intern who seemed overwhelmed. She implied that Ellen wasn't very welcoming either, noting that the Dutch host was nothing like Ellen, which insinuates that he was actually nice. She also made points about her not being assigned a bathroom, and so she had to use a public washroom. At the end of her taping on the show, she said to Ellen, "Thank you for letting me be here, because if there's one person to get this message across globally, and you, like no other, know what it's like to come out, just thank you for this honor." That's what she told Ellen at the end of her interview, but when she returned home, she's made reference to never wanting to meet any of her idols since her exchange on Ellen, and Ellen was one of her idols.
Hi. Wasn't expecting that.
So after everything shut down because of social distancing policies, Ellen decided to do a more stripped down version of her show in the comfort of her mansion. You know, the one that's worth like $24 million or whatever. So she wasn't the only one to do these kind of webcam shows. Basically everyone in the industry was doing it, from The Real Talk Show, Wendy Williams, and Andy Cohen. But the difference between them and Ellen is that Ellen made a very out of touch comment while hosting the show. She basically compared her social distancing to being in jail while making reference to gays in jail. Understandably, the general public, you know, like you and I and most of us who live in apartments and normal sized homes that do not overlook the ocean, did not really appreciate it. And so Twitter went off. One user tweeted, "Can we all just agree that jokes about jail/prison are just ... bad? Putting humans in cages is not funny. Things that happen there are not funny. And anything you are going through right now in your apartment," and then in brackets you put, "or your beepin' mansion, Ellen, is not comparable." Somebody else tweeted, "Living in a $15 million mansion is like being in jail. Seriously, Ellen?"
Oh, time to go.
So, as I just explained, Ellen did decide to take her show from the studio to her mansion and kind of do that webcam show that people are doing. I don't know if anyone's actually watching them, but people are doing them. So, allegedly, Ellen's show stage crew received no written communication about the status of their work hours, their pay, or inquiries about their mental and physical health from producers for over 1 month. There were about 30 workers who did not get a single response from the production team, and these allegations are according to an anonymous source. The higher ups would occasionally answer phone calls but not reveal much. Then the show hired non union workers from a tech company to remotely tape the show in the comfort of her home. You know, like I said, the mansion on the beach. So she actually had these people who weren't part of her original crew, like the people who she usually works with, and she outsourced them, basically like a freelancer, and she invited them to do her show from her house. But the thing is, are these allegations even shocking anymore? We already have the confirmed witness, Nikki Tutorials, who said she was handled by what seemed to be an overworked intern. Can you imagine being that intern and working for that show? Can you imagine what everyone else has to deal with there?
What happened?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
So I guess there was this comedian named Kevin Porter. I haven't heard of him. I'm not sure if you have, but he went on Twitter and he wanted to talk a little bit more about Ellen. So he tweeted, "Right now we all need a little kindness. You know, like Ellen DeGeneres always talks about. She also notoriously is one of the meanest people alive. Respond to this with the most insane stories you've heard about Ellen being mean, and I'll match every one with $2 to LA Food Bank. Oh, and the caveat is yes, they have to be real, because we need some real kindness right now. Wink face." So I guess Kevin's post got a lot of momentum on Twitter and people started replying. One user wrote, "When I was 15 at the Ellen show was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom." Another user wrote, "I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but that it was on my hand. I had worked till closing the night before, and this was the next morning. Almost got me fired." Somebody else chimed in and they said, "A friend went to the same frou-frou gym as Ellen and Portia for a few months and said Ellen was an absolutely ridiculous, entitled, spoiled horse show who treated staff like SH word and constantly yelled at Portia during every workout." A verified user named Benjamin Simon also joined the discussion. He wrote, "A. She has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside her office before talking to her. And if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower. B. A new staff member was told every day she picks someone differently to really hate. It's not your fault. Just suck it up for the day and she'll be mean to someone else the next day. They didn't believe it, but it ended up being entirely true." Another user tweeted, "My friend wrote for Ellen's show for 2 years and told me Ellen didn't greet her once. In fact, upon employment, staff were told they weren't allowed to talk to her." Somebody else wrote, "Was working on a show at WB, which is Warner Brothers, I'm assuming, that was next to her stage. Was our showrunner's 50th birthday. Caterer was grilling steaks outside for special fancy lunch. Ellen sent someone over to demand they stop as she doesn't eat meat. She's the worst." Another user tweeted, "Pretty sure I heard Ellen insisted an assistant who was brand new to the show take Ellen's personal fancy car on a run, despite that assistant not being comfortable with that, and the assistant accidentally backed into a pool and was immediately fired for it." Somebody else tweeted, "There was that time she bullied Mariah Carey into admitting she was pregnant." Now, of course, all of these tweets are allegations. We don't know if they're facts or not, but there are some more allegations, and it's kind of strange how there's so many. Another guy tweeted, "Friend was a PA on her show, got their first staff writer job, and put in notice. Instead of congrats, was told to give their Christmas gift back." Somebody else tweeted, some friends who worked on her show said many of her staff members weren't allowed to be in the same room as her. Queen of social distancing, ahead of her time. Somebody else tweeted, hey boo, I have a few. A friend of mine told me about a custodian she knew who was fired because he was slightly autistic, and he forgot he wasn't allowed to look at it or speak to her, and he loved greeting everyone. Another friend of mine was a PA on her show, and when Russell Brand came into the employee break area to chat with the crew and hang out, Ellen came in and got mad at him, saying he didn't have to interact with these people. That's why guests have their own area backstage. So there's no denying that Ellen is one of the best, if not the best, talk show hosts throughout history, but there are rumors and gossip going around that she's actually considering leaving the show and retiring from it. The rumors are that Kelly Clarkson is actually being groomed by the executives to take over Ellen's spot, and Ellen has already been on Kelly's show, and Kelly has been on Ellen's show multiple times. But what do you think? Do you think that Kelly could handle what Ellen has made and be the next legacy of this talk show dynasty? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. And that's all the tea that I have on Ellen for you today. I hope it was informative or entertaining or both, and I hope that you like these kind of videos. If you want to see more videos like this, comment below and let me know which kind of videos you want to see. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.